Tell us the truth. No harm will come to you.
My father always told the truth.
Sansa Stark was probably one of the most calculating players in Westeros, and nobody saw it. Many people think she is stupid and passive. She was humiliated and tortured by the worst villains in the whole show: Cersei, Joffrey, and Ramsay. She was either doing nothing or making terrible decisions. She did not escape King's Landing with the Hound. When she had a chance, she covered for Littlefinger and walked into Bolton trap. And most characters in the show saw her the same way.
Joffrey is my...
Oh, shut up, you little fool.
And still, where are these people? They are all dead, and she is alive. So maybe she was not that stupid? Maybe what seems like passiveness was actually the only strategy that could keep her alive? And Tyrion Lannister was the only one who saw her real game? The first moment when we can see that Sansa is not as simple as she looks is this one. After Joffrey attacks Arya's friend and her wolf bites him, they stand in front of Robert.
Tell me what happened.
And Sansa lies.
I didn't see.
Liar! Liar!
Most people would consider this insignificant. Sansa is too young for smart politics at this point, but she already shows that she is not a normal Stark. Instead of telling the truth, like any Stark would, she chooses the version that protects her position with Joffrey and the Queen. But it also shows something important. Sansa can bend. She can perform or suppress the truth when necessary. Later, that becomes one of her biggest survival advantages, and her survival starts quite soon. Ned makes a move against Cersei without securing his daughters first. He ends up in a dungeon, Arya escapes, and Sansa is left alone in a nest of vipers. And here comes the next questionable moment. Sansa is forced to write a letter to Robb.
Urge your brother to keep the king's peace. Tell him to come to King's Landing and swear his fealty to Joffrey.
She has to call her father a traitor and ask Robb to come to King's Landing, and she does it. Many people call this betrayal. Arya reminds her of it years later.
They forced me to do it.
Did they? With a knife at your throat? Did they put you on a rack and stretch you until your bones started to pop?
So does Sansa betray her father? Well, think about it. What was Sansa supposed to do there? Refuse Cersei? And then what? Would that save Ned? No. Would that help Robb? No. Would that make the Lannisters weaker? Also no. The only thing that would change is Sansa's own position in King's Landing. And her position is already dangerous. She is the daughter of an accused traitor, trapped in the capital, surrounded by enemies. And what changes if she writes the letter? Also, nothing. Robb and Maester Luwin are not idiots. They understand exactly what this letter is.
Sansa wrote this.
It is your sister's hand, but the Queen's words.
And Cersei herself. Do we really think she expected Robb to receive that letter and say, Sansa is telling me to come and bend the knee, so let's do that? Of course not. The real message is much simpler. We have Sansa. We control her. Remember that before you do anything. That's it. So if Sansa refuses, she only gives her enemies a reason to punish her. This is one of the first moments where Sansa chooses the performance her enemies want over a much bigger damage to herself. For Arya, with her rigid Stark honor, the letter looks like betrayal.
I was a child.
So was I. I would have let them kill me before I betrayed my family.
But from a political survival point of view, it is just a mandatory tax paid to stay alive. Sansa is not playing the game yet. She just tries not to make things worse, but that changes very soon when she has to face the first major boss of the game, Joffrey. Joffrey promises Sansa to spare Ned, and you know what happens next.
Bring me his head!
And after that, the real nightmare begins. Here comes one of the most shocking scenes of the first season.
Walk with me. I want to show you something.
If there were still viewers who did not hate Joffrey by that point, they definitely started hating him after this.
No, please, no!
This one's your father. This one here.
For those who think that Sansa is just a meek doormat, that's where we can see that's not true. Sansa is perfectly capable of saying what she thinks.
After I raise my armies and kill your traitor brother, I'm going to give you his head as well.
Or maybe he'll give me yours.
And she gets a lesson right away. What does she achieve by saying it? Moral satisfaction? No. More pain.
Samarin.
After that, her strategy starts to form. She hides behind the mask of perfect courtesy. She keeps a low profile and says only what will not bring her more pain. She is like a mouse in a room full of cats, trying not to move and not to make a sound. And she becomes very good at it. Joffrey's name day shows us a masterclass of this strategy. Joffrey holds a small tournament.
Well struck. Well struck, dog.
Violence, blood, humiliation, all he likes. Joffrey is excited. He clearly wants to perform some cruelty. Sansa is sitting right next to him.
Did you like that?
It was well struck, Your Grace.
I already said it was well struck.
Yes, Your Grace.
Look at Joffrey's face. He obviously wants a reason to hurt her, but she gives him absolutely nothing. Her face is a stone mask, her tone is flat. She agrees with him using his own words. Sansa has already understood something very important. A sadistic narcissist like Joffrey feeds on her reaction. That's what happened when he showed her Ned's head on a spike. He enjoyed watching her suffer, and if she gives him nothing, eventually he gets bored and looks for another victim. That is exactly what happens. Later in the show, Joffrey still remembers Sansa sometimes, but most of the time, she is left alone. In this scene, we have one more masterclass from Sansa. Joffrey switches to another victim, Sir Dontos.
Samarin, help Sir Dontos celebrate my name day.
And when Sansa tries to save him, she does not beg like before. She does not appeal to Joffrey's mercy, because by now she knows he does not have any. A bit of flattery.
He is a fool. You're so clever to see it.
And then she frames sparing Dontos not as mercy, but as a greater cruelty.
He'll make a much better fool than a knight. He doesn't deserve the mercy of a quick death.
And it works.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
This stone mask of perfect courtesy and submission becomes her main weapon.
I am loyal to King Joffrey, my one true love.
But there is one person who is not fooled by that mask, and that is Tyrion Lannister. Tyrion has his own mask, cynical jokes, sarcasm, so he understands Sansa's position better than most people in King's Landing. Tyrion sees what almost everyone else misses.
Lady Stark, you may survive us yet.
And then, during Stannis' siege, something happens that seems like it could change everything. She gets a chance to end her suffering and go home.
I'm going. I can take you with me.
And what does she choose? She stays. Why?
Take you to Winterfell. I'll keep you safe.
Isn't that exactly what she was dreaming about? To leave this pit of snakes and go home? One of my viewers actually wrote that Sansa was stupid because she didn't go with him. And honestly, that was exactly what I thought when I watched the show for the first time. So since people still argue about this, let me explain why she refused, and why, at that moment, it was probably the best decision she could make. Was the Hound lying to her? Absolutely not. He had always been kind to Sansa, at least compared to everyone else. And I do believe he sincerely wanted to help her. He would have tried to do his best to protect her. So why was refusing him still the right choice? Here comes my favorite game theory. Don't worry, I won't bother you with boring maths. If you watched my video about Jaime, I explain his survival strategy there, and Sansa's strategy is surprisingly similar. Make sure to watch that video too. I'll put a link in the description. Long story short, they both use something called minimax strategy. That means you don't aim for the best possible outcome. You try to prevent the worst one. Now let's look at Sansa's choices at that moment. What happens if she stays in King's Landing? If Stannis loses, then everything stays mostly the same. Her life is still terrible, of course. No friends, no family, Joffrey and his sadism. You know what I mean. But the Lannisters, no matter how awful they are, still need her alive. They would keep her controlled and miserable, but relatively safe. And Sansa has learned how to survive here. If Stannis takes the city, it could be even better.
I'll be safe here. Stannis won't hurt me.
Her father supported his claim. Stannis has no personal reason to harm her, and he would most likely send her back north. So, if Sansa stays, the situation is unlikely to get much worse. Now look at the Hound option. Yes, he is sincere. Yes, he wants to help her, but the Hound is still the Hound. He is unstable, traumatized, violent, and unpredictable. We can see that very clearly later when he travels with Arya. He also tries to keep her safe, but in that tavern, he still provokes a group of bandits.
Listening to talkers makes me thirsty.
Without Arya's help, they would probably both be dead. Could Sansa do what Arya did there? I doubt it. Running away with the Hound in the middle of war is not a clean escape plan. It is an emergency exit. And at that exact moment, there is no emergency yet. Sansa is not simply afraid to run. When there is a real emergency, she absolutely runs. We will get to that later, and there is something else. Sansa's survival strategy works well inside the court. Her courtesy mask, her obedience, her ability to hide what she feels, all of that helps her survive here, in King's Landing. But that mask would not help her on the road. Compare her with Arya. She is the opposite. Arya could survive almost anywhere except the court. Her open defiance would destroy her there. But Arya is doing fine in the Flea Bottom, with the Night's Watch convoy, as a cupbearer for Tywin Lannister and so on. Sansa cannot do that. Not at this point, so if Sansa goes with the Hound, he indeed may succeed and get her safely to Winterfell. But the risk is enormous, getting all the way north in the middle of war, without running into any trouble while traveling with a man like the Hound. It is basically like winning a lottery. And if she loses, the worst-case scenario is not just death. She already had a glimpse of what could happen when she was assaulted in a city and the Hound saved her. So Sansa chooses not the option with the biggest possible reward. She chooses the option where the worst possible outcome is less likely. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? Maybe she should still have tried that lottery. If you like breakdowns like this, please like and subscribe. Thank you. So, she stays, and she even seems to be rewarded for it. But that's where her strategy is put to a test. Things start getting better when Margaery arrives. Joffrey breaks off his engagement with Sansa, which is already a huge relief. But what's more important, Sansa finally gets something that almost looks like friendship. But the crucial moment comes in the gardens, when she, Margaery, and Olenna discuss Joffrey. And this is the first time Sansa's Minimax strategy is put under real pressure. At first, Sansa says her usual PR mantra,
Joffrey, his grace is very fair and handsome.
But when Olenna brings up Ned and his execution, Sansa finally spits it out.
Joffrey did that. And he took me up on the walls and made me look at it. He's a monster.
Look at Olenna's face. You can literally see Rip Joffrey written on it. So why does Sansa tell them the truth? Why does she suddenly drop her strategy? Well, because she is simply outmaneuvered by professionals. Olenna does not buy these PR lines, and she openly mocks the entire system.
As brave as a lion.
Yes, all Lannisters are lions. And when a Tyrell farts, it smells like a rose.
Look at Sansa. She understands that no one believes her lies about Joffrey. So now she has a choice. She can keep lying and remain a little Lannister puppet, or she can tell the truth and maybe gain powerful allies. And look at the environment. No Lannisters, no guards, just women. Olenna plays her usual role as a funny, harmless grandmother, and Margaery plays the gentle friend. But what's even more important is that Olenna and Margaery come to her as an independent, powerful force. They have no reason to run to Cersei and say, Sansa called Joffrey a monster. And they immediately reassure her.
I'm to be his wife. I only want to know what that means.
Speak freely, child. We would never betray your confidence.
Of course, Sansa cannot know at that moment that she has basically signed Joffrey's death sentence. But the ultimate irony is that Sansa is still being used. Olenna does not ask because she pities Sansa. She asks because she wants to know whether her granddaughter is about to marry a psycho. Olenna does not want to hurt Sansa, but she is not helping her out of pure kindness either. And later, when Olenna conspires with Littlefinger to kill Joffrey, Sansa becomes one more piece on the board. Remember when Sansa refused to go with the Hound because there was no emergency yet? Well, at Joffrey's wedding, the situation is completely different. And this proves that Sansa is not simply a coward. When Dantos tells her to run,
Joffrey! Come with me now.
Joffrey!
If you want to leave, you have to leave.
she runs. even though Dantos is even much less trustworthy than the Hound. If she stays, she will be accused of murdering Joffrey and executed. If she runs, she at least has a chance to survive. This is the situation where the emergency exit becomes the right choice. So Sansa runs, and ends up in Littlefinger's hands. And here is where her game changes completely. And here comes the first time when Sansa does not just try not to lose. She actively shapes the outcome. She speaks for Littlefinger after he kills Lady Arryn.
I had no friends in King's Landing, except one.
I have a very thorough breakdown of this scene, so make sure you watch it if you haven't. I'll put a link in the description. In this scene, Sansa masterfully plays the Vale Lords and lets Littlefinger get away with it. Many people say this was a mistake. She saved Littlefinger, fell for his manipulation, and later ended up in the worst possible situation, in Ramsay Bolton's hands. But that is easy for us to say because we know exactly what happens next. Sansa does not. Most likely, she does not fully believe Littlefinger's words about love and care, but she does understand something practical. He needs her, and because of that, he has a reason to protect her. The Vale Lords are strangers, and even if they themselves are trustworthy and noble, the Vale is still full of people she does not know. Servants, guards, minor lords. The secret that she is Sansa Stark would not stay hidden for long, and it only takes one person tempted by Lannister gold to destroy her. So choosing Littlefinger is not trust, it is risk management. And then Sansa makes a mistake, or more precisely, an independent variable enters the game. Someone who does not play by normal political rules. Ramsay Bolton. With Ramsay, Sansa's court survival strategy stops working. She cannot hide behind perfect courtesy because Ramsay does not care about it. He does not need a reason or public approval, so all she can do is wait, endure, and look for cracks. And she finds one. Reek. He is completely broken, but Sansa still tries to appeal to whatever is left of Theon inside him.
Theon, wait.
Not Theon, milady. Reek.
Your name is Theon Greyjoy.
And eventually, it works. They escape together. Of course, I don't think anyone survives that jump in real life. That was clearly plot armor, but the important part comes later, when Sansa meets Littlefinger again.
You have no idea how happy I am to see you unharmed.
Unharmed?
Can you imagine how much she wants to execute him? How much she wants to tell Brienne to cut his throat right there?
You won't even be able to protect yourself if I tell Brienne to cut you down. Why shouldn't I?
But she does not do that. Why? Because she is not like other Starks. Justice first, thinking second. That is how Starks get killed. She understood something Ned never did. Not executing your enemy does not mean forgiveness. It means you keep your grudges to yourself until revenge no longer harms you. And that is exactly what Sansa does. She does not forgive Littlefinger. She does not trust him. But he controls the Vale army.
The time may come when you need an army loyal to you.
I have an army.
Your brother's army.
And she needs it for the war. She also understands something else. After all that happened, Littlefinger desperately needs to regain her trust.
Whatever you ask that is in my power, I will do.
Which means his next move is unlikely to be against her. For the moment, he is more useful as an ally than as a corpse. And later, she conspires with him to bring Vale army to the Battle of Bastards without telling Jon. It may not be very noble, but Jon wants an honorable battle. Sansa knows Ramsay will not give him one.
You think he's going to fall into your trap? He won't. He's the one who lays traps.
He's overconfident.
He plays with people.
And she tries to warn Jon, but he doesn't listen.
Just don't do what he wants you to do.
That's good advice.
You think that's obvious?
Well, it is a bit obvious.
So she keeps another card hidden. The Vale army arrives, Jon wins, and Sansa finally gets revenge on Ramsay. By the way, don't you think Ramsay's death was too easy considering all he had done? Tell me in the comments. But she still does not execute Littlefinger immediately. Only later, when he becomes a threat inside Winterfell. When he tries to turn Arya and Sansa against each other, the calculation finally changes. Now he is doing more harm than good. And
I'm a bit confused.
Which charges confuse you?
And she remembers everything he had done. She never forgot. She was waiting. This is the final proof that Sansa was never passive. She learned how to hide her feelings, how to use her enemies, and how to strike. That is why Tyrion was right. Sansa Stark did survive them all. Now tell me in the comments, do you think Sansa was a survivor or just a quiet girl who managed to outlive her enemies? And don't forget to like and subscribe.